edition of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast, recording to you for the week of May the 15th, 2022. I am James Jordan alongside Michael Wallace for, what is this, episode 12, season 5. We're simulcast on CKMS 102.7 Radio Waterloo, CFMH 107.3 Local FM in St. John, New Brunswick. Our airwaves are all the way going out throughout the Bay of Fundy, and also on the Performance Motorsports Network worldwide on the app. You can go on your smart device, you load it up, and you download it, and we're on there. So those are just a couple ways to check us out. Also, on your favorite streaming service, you can hear Wallace and I here on the Wide World of Motorsports podcast, wherever you choose. Hey, Wallace.
How's it going?
That's our plug for where you might be listening to us. Check us out. Hey, we had a lot up. We had a lot up on our website, article wise, and you took some amazing shots as well at the track, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. You can check us out on our website, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com, and through there, and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the WWOMS. You can check out all of that action, which was, again, we'll get to again, but, and other stuffs too around the Wide World of Motorsports, other motorsports, all around. You know, we cover what we can cover, and as fans, from the fans' perspective, we're not in it for the likes. We're just in it to make sure that you get the news from the track to the community. As best as we can from behind the keyboard. So that's the best that we can do, and yeah, and it's been a pretty good month for the WOMs. So we'd love to hear from y'all up on our social media. Been talking to some fans, and we've been getting out there with some drivers and whatnot. And hey, if you want to sponsor us, you want to be on the show, email us at I think it's just Wide World of Motorsports at gmail.com. No the on that one. I should have put a the on that one, but I didn't, because now we're back then when I made it, I didn't think of just we were the Wide World of Motorsports. I was just like Wide World of Motorsports, and then now we're the Wide World of Motorsports. Yeah, but don't get that mixed up. So yeah, we'd love to reach out. We've had actually some people reach out to us on our email, which is great. So thank y'all for getting out to us on different ways. So it's awesome. We love to hear from you, and also maybe other stuff that we can cover too on the show. Give us some suggestions. Some, you know, what's a weird motorsport? You're gonna go. I know you're gonna go see one in a couple months. The chain racing.
Oh, this weekend.
This weekend you're going to see the chain racing.
Yeah, I'm taking the kids to go see Full Throttle Motor Speedway, which is in Varney, and they're having chain races.
Oh,
so if
man.
you don't know what train races. So if you don't know what a train race is, it's 3 cars chained together. Usually the front car is an engine and steering, no brakes. The middle car is steering only, no engine or brakes, and the rear car is steering and brakes. Obviously, you need 3 people, and you go around the track and race each other. It can be pretty funny. It's a bit of a demolition derby as well. So, and if anybody's been to Full Throttle Motor Speedway, you know that'll be really funny, because that track is, I don't even know how long it is, but it's tiny.
Yeah, there's lots of different especially where we live in, well, I'm kind of southwestern Ontario. You're more, what, mid?
Yeah, I'd be mid Ontario.
So we got some small, shorter, short tracks around us, and and we'll get to that obviously in a few here with a perfect example, actually, Sunset Speedway. Love that. But yeah, we try to cover it all. We can try to do what we can do here at the WOMs. Even to esports with our esports team, our iRacing stuff.
Yes.
Which we're always looking to have some folks run with us on iRacing in our Discord as well. Always looking to have some fun with some people, if you're good enough, of course, to be on our esports team, hang out with our crew. So yeah, just we're all over. We got it all here at the WOMs, and specifically this week, it was a bit of a home game for you.
Yeah, it was. It was a home race season opener as well, for the NASCAR Pinty Series. So that was fantastic. That was at Sunset Speedway. So I live about 45 minutes north of the Speedway. So yeah, it was the perfect distance for me, so to speak. I was home early. I was there early. It was perfect.
Yeah, unfortunately, due to looking at the Weather Network, I won't say what I want to say about it. But it's the last time I'll ever. Maybe I'll wait till the morning of next time for this upcoming weekend. That won't be much of an issue.
No.
Well, not to stop racing issue. It might be an issue being soaking wet, but
that's okay. Yeah, no, that's hard though. And you're right. They were calling for rain all week. They had it call it for rain. So I kept my eye on it. I tried not to really think about it.
Right.
But for me, obviously, it was easy. I can drive 40 minutes, no problem. It's if the race got rained out. It was a little different for you, so completely understand that. So
right. Well, and I'm sure there was other fans as well that were kind of put in that situation, although it did not look like that was much of an issue from what I've seen on the broadcast. But, I'm sure there was a factor into play where, especially where we live, and I'm sure some of our listeners are experiencing high gas prices as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's a gamble when you see all week. It was 80%. It went to 40% the night before, and then the morning of, I wake up and there's a couple hours window where it was like 20-30%, and then it ended up clearing up. And it was like, it looked like a beautiful, beautiful day at Sunset Speedway in Innisfil, Ontario.
It was a fantastic day. Actually, it was a little hot. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty warm. It cooked all day long, and there was zero.
If it was the same warm as it was here in Kitchener, then I could imagine.
I drank a lot of water. I was drinking water as much as I could just to stay hydrated, but that's okay. Definitely worth it. The weather... Yeah, it cooperated for.
Yeah, I had a bit of FOMO there. I wish I made that gamble after the weather. The racing gods. I prayed all week for the racing gods to open up the skies, and I just was like, screw you. So actually, we'll just blame Pepe. We'll just blame him.
We'll blame Pepe.
No,
it turned out to be a fantastic.
It was good.
As it rolled into the night, it was still nice. There's always that that worry, or it happens this time of year. It's really warm during the day, and then it really, really drops off and gets cool. And then when that happens, there's usually a stage there where you get really attacked by bugs, but actually there was zero bugs. It was stayed warm even in the darkness, and
Wow.
yeah, it led to a fantastic day of racing, which we'll get to the other races that happened, the undercards, as I would like to call them, for the day. The track was fantastic. It was in great condition. The paddock was in great condition. The parking lot was in great condition. Everything was in great condition.
Yeah, this is a track that you've been going to your whole life.
Yeah. I started going here young. I've talked about it before on the show, going here and Barrie Speedway, but this one in particular as well. I got there and walked up. I was telling you about this last night because you and I chatted last night, of just the rush or the flood of nostalgia that I got from being in the place again. And then
as Jim Ross would say, an out-of-body experience took place for Michael Wallace in the grandstands. What section was that?
I don't know. It's at just before turn 1. You go all the way to the top, that part of the grandstand. So I walked over and actually went up and sat down there for a few minutes it's funny because it's funny how memories work, right?
Right.
It's part of me remembers it.
You kind of dust it off. It's like, wow, I remember that. You dust it off. There's
but then it's not exactly the way I remember.
Mm-hmm, right.
Things have gotten changed or replaced, or it's just, your memory is just ever. It's hard to try to remember back sometimes, right? Your memories fade, whatnot, over time. But it was fantastic in that there was. What added to that was walking through the garage and hearing that hum of the mechanic chatter as they worked on the cars, walking through, broken by the occasional drop of a wrench,
right,
or the firing to life of an engine.
I'm hearing in my head right now.
Yeah, that pa-ching,
right.
There's very metal. Like, you know what it is, right? And then you hear the air guns and you see the guys. You can hear the jack, because you know what? It's funny because those sounds. You know what they sound like, because you when you walk through a paddock, you just hear those. So there was that it was nice in that rumble first thing in the morning. Right, I got there about 9 o'clock. I got in. I was about 9:45 walking through. So they weren't on track till 12:30, I think. So, but the teams were. They're ready to go. You could feel that readiness, that excitement, that perfection, or wanting to the striving for perfection.
It's competition
to get the cars going. The competition, right?
Yeah.
This year I think is going to be one of the best years in a long time. I think the teams know it, and I think there's a lot at stake for 10 drivers in the field. This is really big and is going to be a pivotal year for some of them. So, and the teams, and it was great. It was awesome. It was really kind of leading, getting that anticipation of, all right, this is going to be a good day. And I spoke with a couple a particular driver that morning, and we chit-chatted about what he was going to expect from the race, and he was expecting fireworks. So even just hearing him say that, I thought, oh wow, okay, like this is what he's already expecting this.
Right.
So yeah, everybody's there was no feeling of give and take. There was no feeling that, this is just the first race of the season, we're just going to take it easy. I'm sure there was for some guys, but I just didn't get that feeling. And I think that was proven later on for sure.
So let's go take a look at the unofficial results here, because I know there are or at least the entry list here, because I know there's a couple of teams, obviously, that have something to prove. Let's take, with the new team GM Pi, with Marc-Antoine Cameron and Andrew Ranger. They have a new team. They have you. As a competitor, you want to go out there and you want to make that statement. Especially if you're, and we saw that in the Cup. We've seen that in the Cup Series, especially. It was similar, so people can get that understanding. Think about it. As what we know. We know well the Cup. We've seen that big time.
I mean, we saw that. People might not realize. And today we saw that with Kurt Busch. Yeah,
exactly. And there's a bit of that. And these are drivers that we're already very well familiar with, but with a new team, and also a new team that is also wanting to get involved with the sport. And I can assure you that as well. It's going to be great with their collaboration with Pinty Series. And then,
well, you bring up that new team, and there was, Marc-Antoine came out.
There's a couple teams there that are new.
Well, Marc-Antoine came out, guns a-blazing. Andrew Ranger, less so, but still had a good night. But yeah, that team, you can tell that team is seeing that team in the paddock and how they were working on their cars, and just they were very focused on what was going on. And I saw Marc-Antoine in the paddock, and he looked very focused and very,
And not to say that none of these people were very focused or anything like that, but those were where it was noticeable.
No, this is what I just noticed on that particular day.
And I'm sure it was the same with, you look at Wallace Stacy, which I remember before a week or so ago, you were saying that you wanted to, because his name was Wallace and your last name was Wallace, so you thought was. And then he ends up he had quite a race, right? But you look at some of those teams like that, Glenn Stiers, Sam Fellows, even though he's not so much a rookie, but he is still relatively, quote unquote, fresh on the scene. We saw that as how he can perform at Sunset on the ovals, which was really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Glenn did a really good job. I was really impressed watching Glenn. Sam as well did a really good job.
How about
never got a photo of it, and I should have. And you're gonna get really mad at me right now. But Ron Fellows was also at the track. He was spotting for.
Oh
Sam.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So,
right, he's the spotter.
So I saw Ron walking around.
How about Jean-Philippe Bergeron finishing 8th for
in the only 4? So that was pretty good to see. He was consistent all day long. Watching practice was where it really, obviously this is where you're going to see who's going to rise to the top. So we saw the drivers come out, and most of them were pretty much on it 100%. There was, like I said, that
Dave Jacom's racing
feeling. They were just, they were 100% yesterday, and they were turning laps. These guys were driving the wheels off it. I posted that video of LP, right, the champ. When he first came out on track, he was digging out at turn 3, and he was sideways, and he was coming up to the wall. I was watching him down in turn 1. And you can watch him come out of 4 there up onto the front straightaway, and he's just digging and digging and digging, and they're digging out of 2. And the way the track is, it's shaped like a cap with the front part of the D being the backstretch. And it was just, the track, it was, because it was hot, the track was greasy, but they were getting so much grip because it's so high banked as well, and it's like a little bull ring, both 2 multiple grooves. and they were rubbering it in, and they were going faster and faster and faster, and it was fantastic till we saw the youngest guys in the paddock, Trayton Lapsevich first, and Brandon Watson second, separated by 2/1000ths of a second for first practice, and LP came in third there. So it was practice. If practice was any indication of the day, it was pretty accurate. It was pretty accurate, I have to say.
How did yeah, so I was not able to obviously catch those, so how did those go?
Qualifying was good too. So, after practice, all the cars came in. Again, they had another couple hours of tinkering with the cars, and they came in. The teams were pretty much ready to work on the cars, getting them ready for pre-qualifying inspection. During that time, though, we had 2 invitational races at the track. Just before qualifying, we had like a 4-cylinder invitational, 1,000 to win, and the Super Stocks, quick Super Stock series, like that, those cars, 3,000 to win. And man, did they put on fantastic. That's why I love going to the short tracks. And I was talking to a guy there and said, when we watched the 4-cylinder feature, 30 laps, green to checkered, no cautions. And these guys drove the wheels off these cars. They were beating and banging. It was awesome. Honestly, I thought to myself after that race, there's no way that any other race tonight was going to top that race. It was that good, I thought. And those guys are the next generation. So go out and support your local short track, because you never know where the stars are going to come from. And it's good racing. It's entertaining racing. Sometimes it's better than Cup Series. So the Super Stock race was equally. They had a caution, little dust up, but it was equally as good. I would have said that the 4-cylinder race was better of the two for sure. But after that, we headed into qualifying. Now, cars were impounded pre-qualifying, meaning that once, I guess they were on a timer, and once it hit that time, you're no longer allowed to work on the cars. Like, whatever you have is what you have, and after qualifying, it's still impounded. So whatever you have at that point, you have until the competition caution, or until you pit at some point in the race if you so choose to. You probably make a few changes. So qualifying went out in reverse or fastest in practice. So slowest went first, and it was pretty much, every person went faster than the previous person.
In Pinty's?
And went faster and faster. What's that?
In the Pinty series?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so they just did they did single lap qualifying, 2 laps on it right out of the gate. So Barrie, exit of Sunset Speedway, exit of turn 2 is the exit of pit road. So they're hammered on it right from that point around, because they were getting the green flag and they were busting 2 laps, and then they're into the pits. So what was really interesting about qualifying is, like I said, is that they kept going, each person was going faster than the other and that, but everybody was doing it on their second lap, right? Like, all the tires are up to temp, brakes are up to, or closer to temp, brakes are closer to temp, the car's just ready to go. Most of the time, if they didn't do it in the second lap, it's because they made a mistake. Well, Brandon Watson goes out. Yeah, his second last to go, and he nails a 14.7 on his first lap. Kills it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I couldn't believe it. And then Trey Trey went next, and obviously he didn't beat him, but he started P2, which was fantastic for him. But yeah, really the young guns seem to just come out and say, like, hey, we're here. We're here to race. We mean business too. It's time to take us serious. So, that was really cool. But it's funny to say that the young guns are saying, hey, we're here. The vets are saying, yeah, we're here too, because LP was in third, and I can't forget who started in fourth. I think who started P4. No, I think Rafael started fourth. So
Raph started fourth. LP
Mark
started
was
third, but he finished ninth.
He didn't have a good day. He had a few issues.
We'll get to that. But yeah, so there's a couple of different with Brandon Watson coming in there, with David White
rocking throwback stash too, which was kind of funny to see him walk around with that.
JP Bergeron. So a few minutes ago, I actually he's with Dave Jacobs. Dave Jacobs, sorry, and they have 2 NASCAR Canadian Tires championship under their belt. So seeing them come in there with JP and a team that has some experience there. He was able to start off in 14th, and his finishing position was not too bad in 8th. We'll get to that as well. But so a couple of just teams, though. A couple of teams there that are really cool to see. Like, not only is it a young versus old. Sometimes you're also hearing a province versus province, and then also you're also seeing some of these other teams coming in and making something happen as well.
That's one with the new time with their new team.
TJ Reno Mono
he
also
was on it
with and Glenn Stiers there with David White. Just so a couple of teams there. They were those, and Mark Dilley as well. They were all racing hard. But Brandon Watson out of that team, leading the way there. But there were a lot of hard racing in the back of the pack throughout the race. Obviously within racing, there's lap cars that take effect, and there's midfield, back of the field, and there's a lot of hard racing all throughout it as well. It wasn't just top 5 guys versus top, all battling. There was battles all throughout. There was different strategies, different races all throughout. There was also a lot of different problems too that came into effect too. You were walking around the paddock and saw the hood up for the 18. You just happened to have caught that.
Yeah, they were having what was said to be fuel issues. So they were, after qualifying the tag, I did see him drive through the pits, and wasn't sure where he was going because I knew the cars were impounded and they were going to get ready to be parked on the front stretch for autograph session. But and then I saw him and they were working on the car, and I asked an official what was going on, and at the time didn't know, but he eventually, they wrenched on that car and got it back out there. So the other thing that happened that I'm leaving out for this night of racing was that we were about an hour ahead of schedule. That the super stocks and the 4 cylinders, they did such a good job at racing that they put us an hour ahead of schedule. So they were really rushing to get Tag's car, 22 Racing, back out there onto the grid, which they did, and because he missed the start grid, he had to start at the back,
which was fun watching him race through up to 7th.
Yeah, he was doing it. Yeah, he was doing good. He was hauling because it looked like they had some issues again in the middle of the race. I posted another video with the hood up on the car. They were doing. I'm not sure what they were doing. I didn't get get a word on what was going on, but he made it back out there on track. So there were lots of teams. There was lots of teams that did a good job.
How about tires?
Tires were an issue.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you.
Oh, tires were visibly an issue.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Being at the side of the track, you could. That's what actually kind of happened in the super stock race. I was watching those guys and they were pushing the top four. There's only 8 of them there, but the top 4 or 5 of them that were real close together, they were pushing and pushing and pushing. And I thought to myself, you boys, you got to watch your tires. Like, how many laps? And I see them cross the flags, give them the halfway to go. And I hear the announcer say halfway, 20 laps. And I thought, oh my goodness. So watching and inevitably they just started having tire issues. So inevitably that just, I figured that was going to happen in the Pinty's race, and it did. And you really saw some drivers really, really struggling with probably right rears. That's where it looked like they were getting lots of issues. TJ Renato looked like he was in Formula Drift out there. I believe Brett Taylor broke a rear end. That was disgusting. I don't know if you know what rear end oil smells like, but that track reeked for probably a good 15 minutes of burnt rear end oil. It was pretty funny, but anyways, yeah. And so the drivers started changing lines. You could see that, diamonding corners, late entries to get that straighter drive off. And
Sunset's that kind of track. It's small, nice high banking, lots of room to run around.
Mm-hmm.
2,
kind of boring,
3 wide sometimes.
3 wide lots of times, actually. And I would say that there was a moment in that race where, Marc-Antoine passed LP for the lead 3 wide. LP on the outside, lap car in the middle, and Marc-Antoine dove it down the inside. And I just thought that's a statement, I think, to the champ. Like, hey, you're not the only champion that's gonna be here. So that was pretty cool to watch. But they had a competition caution at lap 125, which was halfway through the race, to change tires and make adjustments to the cars. So maybe you can answer this, because I feel like I've missed this. Are they doing this because of the cost of tires right now?
It's going to be something that is cheaper it's bringing lots more teams in. They don't have to worry about pit road stuff, and as you can imagine, as we know with some of our racing friends, how the cost of tires are and gas. So I'm sure that definitely, also with staffing and with the crew of teams, and that absolutely, we saw that brought in with the truck series and other higher up tier series. And that was something that was brought into the Pinty series to help with that.
And it didn't make, what, can I be honest with you? I wasn't upset by it. We ran 125 laps. This is I'll tell you what my issue with it is. But we ran 125 laps. They all come in, they get tires. Everybody gets a break. You get a break from, as much as I love the sound, just get a bit of a break from the sound, right? That constant just rah, 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 right? Get a break from everything gets to calm down. The drivers get a break. Cars get a break. Everything gets to just chill out for a little bit, and then we get to go back to racing.
So
the only thing I dislike is that when they come out of the pits to line up behind the pace truck, they just start counting laps. So I'm like,
Right.
well, like it's not. Then they're not racing 100, 250 laps. Like I understand why caution laps count, but that's
Right.
why I hate. Like I understand why stage laps count in the middle, between the stages. But part of me, I always feel like, well, anyways, doesn't matter.
So
It didn't
the,
ruin the race.
so we
The race
saw
was
a
amazing.
lot of hard racing before the break. DJ and laps racing very hard for P3. So there was a lot of guys that were racing. Maybe the teams
And
were seeing
DJ a
that break.
contender. Can I say DJ a
And
contender?
then
And
his
like he
tire
was
goes
looking
down,
good.
and then we skipped over Watson with 196 to go. He came around in turn 3. He was lapped as it took him a bit
Yep.
to get around. The 9 got loose just by himself in the entry of 3. But Mac he dominated most of that race. So there's a lot of guys. Brandon's racing up there. Tags is racing up there from a from the mishaps before the race. Andrew Ranger apparently had a wet box of a car, so he was dealing with that. So there's a lot of guys racing towards this break, going, oh, I
Yeah,
can't wait. Probably going,
sure.
oh, I can't wait till this break to be able to make some
Survival.
adjustments or something. Other guys making it up
Surviving.
through the field too. We saw Ranger, Lacroix. No, I didn't
Yep.
hear anyone mention Kevin Lacroix. Kevin Lacroix working hard to get up there, up to the top 5 before the break. And there's a point
Well,
where
and,
even
and
Ranger was trying to stay ahead of
yeah,
Mac before getting lapped.
I mean Kevin did what he needed to do. He stayed out of trouble. I believe he's won there before in the series, but he was quietly quick all night and needed to be where he was when he needed to be. I'm pretty sure Kevin would be pretty happy with a
Yeah.
top 5 to start the season, considering how some
Starting 11th, finishing
people's
5th
nights
for
went.
the 74. But yeah, so we saw, and as I mentioned earlier, also going up to this break, we saw a lot of it. We saw Raphael Lassard getting up in there. We
Yeah,
saw a lot, and as I mentioned earlier as well, there was
he was quick all
guys,
night
there was
too.
guys that were already lapped that were also in the mix of it. Drivers like we were hearing lots of Glenn Stiers, and you're hearing
Hmm.
lots of Wallace Stacy, these guys that were working hard back there. Dexter Stacy,
Actually, who really impressed me too is Gary Cloot. And
Gary
I spoke
Cloot,
with Gary
yeah,
earlier
sixth,
and he kind of said he didn't think he was going to do that well. He's been out of the
awesome
car
guy
for
by
too
the way.
long, and he finished up there in 6th. You know, Brandon ran into bad luck, but at the end of the day,
That was fun
came
watching
back
him
with
race up.
a 3rd place.
Uh,
He's a great driver. He's really gotten honed his craft better. Like I was watching him. So you know what I noticed with his pole lap than I noticed with everybody else's lap that they did in qualifying. And this was something I used to recognize with Top Gear. If you ever watched old Top Gear, I know you did, but if our listeners did, and when they would do, Star in the Reasonably
Right.
Priced Car, do you remember this?
yeah, absolutely.
And so, for people that might not know, they would put the celebrity in a simple car, something cheap and affordable, and they would do a lap around this racetrack, and then they compete against
Or
other
F1 driver.
celebrities.
They had a separate
Or
list for F1 drivers.
they had a
too.
separate board
Yeah.
for the F1 drivers, yeah. So, anyways, and what I noticed there was that if the lap looked boring, it was really quick, and if it looked really quick and exciting, it was usually really slow. Well, Brandon's quali lap was like he came out of 2 on his first lap, and the first thing I thought was, wow, he's kind of going slow. And then I immediately went, I bet you this is a good lap. And he comes out and he nails it. He is just so smooth and technical and precise. And
Got up to third. That's what got him up to third.
I think he'll win. I bet you
Podium.
any money. I bet you he wins a race this year.
Oh,
He'll win a race
no
for
doubt.
sure.
No
I don't
doubt.
know where. I can't wait to see him on the road courses.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure where he'll win, but he'll definitely win a race this weekend. Speaking of a few other drivers in there, Sam did a really good job. I was actually really impressed the whole race as at the quality of the driving standards, and I think that goes to the race director over at the NASCAR Pinty series, Rob Sharp. I spoke to Rob earlier that day. I just quickly asked him, what tone he was going to set for the series that year. Being the first race at a notoriously aggressive and bumpy, like rough track, and basically he just said, it's gonna be respectful. Guys, they all know what they're doing. They're all there for a reason. Like they're all good enough to be there. We're working towards the same goals and the same things, and it's just, I think he's going to be a good race director. I think he's going to be fair and harsh when he needs to be, but I think he's going to run a tight ship, which will lead to great racing later on in the season.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's always good to hear from them.
Yeah, definitely. Can I just quickly thank the NASCAR Pinty Series, Sunset Speedway, and Caitlin Patrick, who is NASCAR PR, who signed me in and dealt with all my stupid questions because I'm a little bit new at the media portion of going to the races. And just thanks to everybody there, the teams. It was fantastic. It was so fun and therapeutic. It was 2 years since I've been to a racetrack, and it was just, man, I didn't realize they needed it as much as I needed it. So it was good to watch. And the battles, like I said, they were just respectful battles. Yes, there was some bumping and some touching, but I don't think anything too sinister. Would you agree?
So yeah, it was. We saw some rubbing and touching, but so going back to where the situation was, there was only 6 cars on the lead lap going into the break.
Mm-hmm.
So after the break on the start,
moving.
With 122 to go. Yeah, it was a battle for a point there of the La Belle de Provence between the 74 and RAF. And we saw them battling with each other, and then things got physical sometimes between other drivers, with Tag also getting up in there in the mix with some of his fellow Quebec drivers. We're seeing a lot of even a big scene of that coming up. Which I think you can probably say every season, I bet, but more than ever now.
Yeah, it seems that way. That's for sure.
And then but with contact, especially with Yellow, when the Yellow came out with 110 to go, Dexter Stacy, Glenn Steyer's Brian Cathcart in a wreck in turn 4, that gave Watson a chance to gain another lap. And then that set him up for the next Yellow, where he was able to get the lucky dog. There's a couple of cautions.
And that accident, that wreck was unfortunate too, because I didn't get to see the entire thing. So being at the track live like that, it's often hard to see everything that happens because they don't have it on replay. But I caught Dexter sideways, and then Glenn Steyers and Brian Cathcart just come nowhere to go. Basically, just a racing incident.
There wasn't so much physicality, but there's a lot of pressure. Drivers giving each other a lot of pressure. We saw a lot of guys, run it into certain turns, but and it sounds bad, but with this track, you're able to actually do that. You're able to run it 3 wide in the turn and run a high side. And make something happen on the high side at Sunset. And so we saw a lot of that end up happening at the end of the race. There's just a lot of pressure being applied by the drivers, and especially like the young drivers that were coming up. We saw the number 8 coming up there in with Mac and giving him pressure at the end of the race there, and seeing him and Mac get into it eventually. I know there was a couple other cautions as well that set up for this green, white, checkered NASCAR overtime. And I believe there was a couple of cars. I think it was Dexter Stacy. Unfortunately, with the Bullies truck stop, they got some good TV time. Bullies truck stop, but it was because things ended up going down for them. That they were in that wreck actually with the that I had mentioned earlier with but yeah, with the green, white, checkered NASCAR overtime, Mac and Raf making contact. That's where they made contact right off the start. Mac made his contact. Raf got him back with a little, hey. They both were just saying, hey, I'm here. And they did it a little too much. When they got the white flag, Trey snuck by. Trayton Lapsevich sneaking by for his first win.
Well, so just to go back a little bit to touch on a point you made about this pressure. Not so much physicality, just a lot of pressure. And there is. It just seems like there's no breaks. Do you know what I mean? They're racing flat out all the way. And that was something that came into endurance racing. Endurance racing used to be a lot of 80%, save the car, save yourself. It's a long way to go. You probably can win the race due to other cars just falling out. But with NASCAR now, or oval racing now, there and like endurance, there's no taking your time. There's no waiting. It's every position you can get at every moment you can get it. I mean, yes, you need to wait, and sometimes you need to take your time. But what I mean by that is that you're like you said, that applying pressure. You're just everything's going 100%. So if you make a little mistake doesn't cost you one position.
Exactly.
It now costs you 4 positions. So yeah, they're just on it like the entire time. And they were flat out for the entire race. And Trey, I saw a quote saying that he didn't have the best car. Well, that doesn't always matter.
With RGC
you and
Sports,
I talked about
quick.
this.
Yeah, they had a good car, in my opinion.
Yeah. But you and I always talk about this, right? It doesn't matter how you win. It's that you were there
absolutely
to win. And Trey did that. Real
quick here, let's go through the top 10 and then a little bit of a moment we saw after the race. So Trayton Lapsevich P1, Raphael Lessard getting second, and Brandon Watson rounding up that podium. And
what a rebound!
He made it up there.
Brandon.
Oh yeah, big time!
What a rebound!
And out of all the guys that Tags had a bit of a mishap, Kennington had a bit of a mishap. The biggest rebound obviously was Watson. Mac, he was able to stay up there after a bit of that stuff from the finish there in fourth. Kevin Lacroix, as we had mentioned earlier, with fifth place. Gary Cloot sixth. Tag 7th.
Yeah, wow.
JP Bergeron 8th, LP Dumoulin 9th, and Mark Dilley 10th. Obviously, like with Brett Taylor, Glenn Stiers, Dexter Stacy, and Larry Jackson, all weren't able to finish the race, unfortunately, all due to
and Larry looked
issues.
good too. We didn't talk about him. He was looking good. He was on it all day long too. So, it was a pretty good field of cars. I mean, 20 cars. That was a good race.
Yeah. And it's on flowracingtsn.ca, and you can see clips of it on our page too. It was totally entertaining that finish there. For the way the season started, absolutely great start to the season, to the 2022 season, and also great start for Trayton Lapsevich. And we especially saw that post-race, DJ Kennington giving props to Trey Lapsevich on an awesome race, obviously with
Yep.
some of their mishaps from the 2021 season. And, you know, obviously, if I were in the shoes of Trey, and I'm not speaking for him in any mean, but I would obviously be, you know, maybe it wouldn't probably bother me. Maybe it wouldn't even cross my mind, but I would know, like, that's this race, and I know this guy, you know, whatever, maybe something would happen, but who knows. But that props that he gave Trey would have probably been like, oh, okay, like, nice, you know, like, sweet, like, that's pretty good, you know, like, I got this under my belt. I'm starting to earn some respect from my rivals, and those are where the best rivalries are based off of and formed off of. And that's what we were talking about earlier about the old versus young, and talk about a for sure example of that. And just imagine when DJ was younger, I'm sure he was in that boat, and I'm sure he had guys going up to him, you know, calling him young man, this and that, and now he's the guy going. So there's got to be a bit of that too, where, hey, this must be cool for DJ, where this is like, you know, this is all part of his career when you end up getting in those later years. And that's so cool to see. That was an awesome photo you took, Wallace, of them, you know, having a little bit of a moment there.
Yeah, I was just right place, right time. I can't say that I did anything
Right.
particular special. I will say that I recognized the moment. I saw him coming up. You know, that was after all the celebrations and everything that had gone on the front stretch. So DJ didn't even interrupt him. Let him do his thing. Everybody was gone, and he had walked over. And I you know, because of what happened last year at Delaware, I thought, oh, I gotta shoot this and get this on photo at the very least, and got a good photo. Was fortunate enough to say good run, you know, great job. It was fun battling hard with you out there for a little bit, you know, well deserved, and he walked away. So it was cool to be there and see that for sure. And might I add that DJ is looking super fit this year, super fit. So, you know, he had some bad luck tonight, but I think DJ's come back stronger and faster for the 22 season.
Yeah, you could tell during that whole race, and he has the best livery, by the way, in my opinion so far. Like, hands down, that Castrol Edge is a sweet livery.
Ooh. If I had to quickly pick my favorite looking car for the night, I actually would have to say I really liked Marc Antoine's.
Yep, I like both Rangers and Max.
The number from. I wonder. Yeah,
hey, that's something we'll have to find out when I
should ask him. Yeah, because I like Andrews because I like the number too, as well. Sorry, I like 27. 92 is such a high number. I know we have 66 and what number's Dexter? 98.
Hey, yeah, well, that's something we're gonna have to ask him when we see him. Maybe this weekend when we're going down to Motorsport. Going to be there. The Woms will also be there.
You will be there
again.
You will be there.
It'll be a good time, and I'm excited to go camping for my first time there, and going to see the first road course race of the season, round 2 of the 22 NASCAR Pinty season, which will, of course, be on our social media page at the WWOMS Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're going to try to get the best updates that we can from the track to the community from there. Also on our website at the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com, and we'll have the podcast up. We'll have another episode just like this one up again for the round 2. We'll have that up on our Spotify, our Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and also on the FM dial on CKMS 102.7 Radio Waterloo and CFMH 107.3 Local FM and the Performance Motorsports Network. And yeah, real excited to see to get to the track again and to be able to get these get the fan angle, the heart, the soul from the track to the community for all of our listeners. So I am pumped, ready to go. So are our fans. Hopefully we'll see you down there. And,
I'll have to live with the FOMO this weekend.
Well, we're looking at a little bit of precipitation on the Saturday. The Sunday will be clear. It'll be mostly partly cloudy throughout the weekend. So racing-wise, we're going to be seeing some, probably some, hopefully normal racing. Hopefully the rain's going to stay away. But we all know how it goes at Motorsport. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. So it's like you could do all 4 seasons in one weekend, especially for that Victoria Day weekend. Yeah,
I've been there
so
in Moss when it was pouring rain, and the Pinty's race this weekend, it was pouring rain in Moss, and it was sunny and clear on the front stretch. And shockingly, this is how good those drivers are. They come flying down into Moss on slick tires.
And in
the wet, out. And I thought, oh my goodness, here goes the field, and they all made it through. They all made it through perfectly with their touches.
It's a great track for racing. Some of our listeners might know, obviously, through the Camping World Truck Series, or even some of our listeners might know through the sports car stuff. So it is a great track for all racing, and it is always good to be there. And again, thanks to NASCAR and Caitlin Patrick and all of our compadres in the media center from this past weekend. And for the upcoming weekend, you'll be looking forward for that again. And it's racing's it's all I ever know was racing. That's all I know.
All I ever know. It's racing. It's true.
To quote the great Dale Jr. there.
My favorite. So we want to talk. Is that your favorite racing quote?
That's probably the one I say all the time, I guess.
My favorite is from Steve McQueen in Le Mans, and as Michael Delaney, and he says, racing is life. Anything else that happens before and after is just waiting.
Right. That's some good stuff too. That's actually a really good one too.
It's probably one of it's my favorite quote.
Do you know
probably
what one of my other favorite quotes is?
Can't pass here.
I thought you says I was all right, Spider.
You says I yes. And if there are any Goodfellas fans out there, they will definitely know what we mean by that.
And also that's gonna be our reoccurring thing on the podcast. So yeah, check us out at the WWOMS. Listen to us CKMS 102.7, Radio Waterloo, CFMH 107.3, Local FM, and Performance Motorsports Network for past future episodes of the Wide World of Motorsports. That looks like about it. Wallace, that just about wraps it up for this edition. What do you say, bud? We'll see you around. What do you always say, Spider?
You know what I always wanted to be? A media guy.
We're living the dream, man. We're living the dream. We'll see you around the bend, folks.
Adios.